Welcome to the start of a new anime review series. This one's called My Instant Death Ability is Overpowered. And by the way, this show is currently, as of right now, the 43rd series I've checked out this year. 43. You might be thinking before the year is out, am I going to break my record? Yes. Yes, I will. Oh, God, yes, I will. So, we started off with our main character as a child, excuse me, where basically he is in this facility. By the way, his name is Takatu. He's as a child, he's voiced by Shannon Emmerich. Basically, he's wrestling a woman named Akasa, who is being held hostage, and then basically him looking at the person pointing a gun in her head, she just dies. And of course, everything is good. And then he wakes up present day where he is on a school. He's basically on a Greyhound bus. Apparently, it's explained they were on a field trip to some place. Don't know where. You're thinking, wait, on a Greyhound bus, and then of course they get transported isekai. Sounds like Failure Frame. And of course, basically, well, we'll get to more on that. Yeah, and of course, basically, and also the fact that the bus is being attacked by a wyvern, who kills like two of their classmates. Where's the rest? Well, there's a flashback explains that. By the way, the person who wakes him up. By the way, Takachu, the main character, is voiced by Shudo himself from My Hero Academia, Deb Magdra, which I met him. Cool guy. And then, of course, there's Tomochika, where she is voiced by the awesome Monica Real. Which this is now for her the 48th series now. You're thinking, wow, that's a lot of series for one voice actor. True. I've seen tons. Oh my gosh, it is a lot. I mean, the last series I just saw, it was actually the last series, by the way, I watched this in High Dive, was actually Lone Life in Our World. Oh, don't worry, there's still plenty of stuff I can watch for her. Yeah, and she, of course, is Light Case Lone Life in the World, the female lead, and also be implied to have feelings of the main character, which, of course, that was the same thing with Lone Life. Differences between these two. Now, of course, yes, both it's a high school class being brought to the world, but that one was due to brought into classes on a school bus. Well, basically on a Greyhound bus, which makes it the second anime this has happened with. Oh, by the way, how many classes for anime where it has a whole high school class being transported to the world? Not many. There is a Freya, Failure Frame, Lone Life of the World, The Food Revolution, and now this one. Yes, basically, you could kind of say the Wrong Healing Magic, but that's kind of like 3 students, but I'm kind of count as partial class. And I got Cheats Go to the World, became relevant in the Real World 2, because basically, people have gone back between those worlds at will. So, it's explained that they were summoned by this woman known as Shion the Sage, voiced by Kristen McGuire. Yes, Kristen McGuire. And you're probably thinking, how many series now with her? 25. Yep. And it explains, oh yeah, you've all been chosen basically to become Sage candidates, and all but Takachi, and it was all but Tomochiya, Tataru, and like 2 others are all chosen to become sages. Also, the girl sitting next to her is chosen, and I heard a voice like, that's Lucy Christian! And I was right, that is Lucy Christian. Which now makes it basically the 24th series. Now, her being in a set of Filmworks dub, I'm like, that is not surprising. Because, with the exception of, I think like one I could think of, that being a comic with the exception of that one, and I know she's not in Yashihara Dark Elf, she's not in that one either. But generally put, she's been in like almost every single Sentai Filmworks dub I have ever watched. Because That's probably the only thing she's been associated with besides being with Crunchyroll. Which, in my opinion, that's awesome because she's awesome. And plus, I just saw her again just this year, back in, I think it was this past February, I think it was. Yes, past February, I just saw her. By the way, those of you curious, how many series this year have I watched where she has been in the show itself? For this year? This is a surprise. Like, 2. Yeah, surprisingly 2. And both times she's playing, like, minor characters. Yeah. Last one just happened to be Loner Life, because last year was, like, several anime last year with her basically with one dubcast. And now she's here. Oh, in the case of Kristen McGuire, the last show I heard it was actually dropping a dating sim. You're like, really? Yeah. A series I watched last week. So, yeah, they've all been chosen, and of course, basically, one of the classmates is being a dick, so it happens to 4 students who apparently are not being chosen, and that's when the dragon shows up. And then we have, like, after explaining everything, and the fact, oh, when the dragon comes, of course, tells her to die, somebody basically pushed her chest up, basically his arm. He does comment later on, basically, is like, you have soft breast. That calls him embarrassed. I mean, he's giving you a compliment. And, by the way, she doesn't slap his head or slap his face. She just smacks his chest. Or his back. And then we have 3 more students show up, basically, who wanted to make Tamachi into a freaking zombie. So, basically, 2 of them get killed instantly. And the third one, chubby guy, he puts a slave collar on himself and basically is told to wait in the woods. So, bus is useless. They can't drive it because basically the front portion of the bus was destroyed. I would have basically, like... Here's a question I would like to ask. Like, I'm sure that anybody who watches the show are like, wait, where's the driver? Good question. Like, if the thing was still working, the Soviet it was partially damaged, could at least try to start it up and try to drive it. Nope. So they proceeded to walk to a nearby town, which was closed its gates. Luckily, they got no problem. Of course, basically, they got some money. So, they allowed to stay because, basically, they're supposedly sage candidates. Yeah, supposed because they're sage candidates. So, they just wandered town for a bit, and then they're picked up by a beast girl, who only appears in this episode. For some reason, they put her in eye catcher for some weird reason. I'm not really sure exactly why. Why would you put a character in an eye catcher who just frickin' died? Yeah, basically, like, oh, they were going to kidnap her or human trafficking. So then he proceeds to have all the guys behind him, like, all the guys behind me, you all can die. It's like, eyes, ankle, arm. It's like, yeah, basically, I agree with him. Basically, his power is, like, used as torture. And, of course, Shion's like, oh, he must have incidentability. And, by the way, he had this in the real world, not in the fantasy world. Oh, this is really cool. They just released, okay, this is probably yesterday, yeah. I thought they released something else. Anyways, yeah. So, then they're taken to town, which after having other people die, and of course, basically, they're allowed to leave, no problem. Then, of course, one of the survivors is interrogated by the local guard with a vampire. And then a hero shows up, supposedly kills everybody, but luckily everybody survives. And, like, oh, this is for Arrow's, like, and of course, the girl's like, who's Arrow, your lover? And then she proceeds to, after being healed because she's a vampire, throws the guy off the building. Yep. And then she tells the whole thing with Shion, what's going on, and not much else with her. In the case of, well, after giving a place to stay, for the night, this, of course, we're introduced to the guardian spirit of Tamachi, Momoko, who is from the Heian era. You're thinking, what period of time, basically, is that from Japan? from 794 to 1185 AD. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where she's like the guardian spirit, and this is kind of funny. So apparently, she was explained to Takachi off. She was explained to Tomochi Takuru off screen, and all he cares about is playing his his Switch. Yeah, and of course, get a device to recharge it, and you have her basically do like one of those like pulley things. One of like you have to roll this thing to charge up his game charger. Which look at the thing, it's a freaking Switch. Yeah, he had a Nintendo Switch on him, which somehow it works in the fantasy world as long as battery charge perfectly good. So we're training for a while, and then the thing is attacked by a flying saucer. By the way, the whole thing with the train in the fantasy setting. This is awkward seeing this. I mean, yes, we did see a running shower in a couple, but a train in a fantasy setting. I'm trying to think here. I know that that same organization Slime basically started to fill up one in that show, but a train is not necessarily something you see at fantasy. Of course, you might be thinking, what about Talking to Me? Well, that had a train. That was because that was not technically fantasy. That was also World War One. That was okay to have a train. Trains are not very common in fantasy setting. Most of it's all horses. So the car is destroyed, but they're able to survive no problem. And apparently, we have a sage being attacked by a robot. Yes, a robot. Known as an aggressor. Oh, and the sage is a dick. So, Takatu proceeds to kill him. Yep, kills him. Insensibility. And the aggressor gives him advice. And of course, the guardian spirit proceeds to make her katana based on future technology, where the way to hit it is basically being her underwear. Yep, seriously, that's basically the plan for this thing. Yeah, quite interesting start for this series. Now, those that are curious, though, once I finish up, it's going to be another High Dive series coming out, basically a series on High Dive. Of the 4 remaining ones, at this one, there's like 1. Yeah, just 1. Because the other 3 are on Crunchyroll. One is a series one I have been recommended many times to get started with, to start this one. But I'm going to start it soon, but not right now. Okay, so that's pretty much it particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up, basically, is 2 more episodes of the series. Just next review for this one, and basically my first of 2 comic corners ready to go. Okay, let's go. Bye.